This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's wonderful to have you join us once again this morning on this Thursday, a Throwback Thursday on Good Morning Uganda. My name is Philomena Mastiko. The date is 19th January 2023. And of course, we are back at it, usual business every single morning. Conversations, banter, discussions. All of that is what I am excited to have with you this morning, and of course with Mollen, with Felix, plus Robert as well. Today being Thursday and also the 19th is actually World Memory Day. Appreciation. How well do you take care of your memory? And of course, what have you done? What are some of the sweet memories? Now, what better way to celebrate it if today is Throwback Thursday? Clearly, we're going to be tapping into our memories and see what's that good thing going down the memory lane that we'll be talking about. But of course, also business in Parliament is really getting serious, looking at the budgets being presented by a number of sectors, reviewing performances. UNRA exactly yesterday was quite on the hot seat with very many parliamentarians in total disagreement with the way they're operating. They do believe they're losing quite a lot of cash when it comes to the weigh bridges, as some cars are being weighed and done what's supposed to be done to them. Others are just left to go. They do believe that that right there is where UNRA as an entity is losing out on cash. They also did highlight the fact that the 1 billion that is actually spent on the maintenance of the Kampala Express, Entebbe rather, the Entebbe Expressway highway rather, is actually not really. The money is they're questioning the money. They do believe 1 billion is a lot of money to be spent on maintenance. But you think it's a lot, or you think it's worth the purpose? Well, all of that we'll be discussing right about now. Maybe just to start off with you, Mollen. Good morning. How are you doing? Happy Thursday.
Well, it is a happy Thursday and a good morning. I also want to say good morning to our family out there. Now, it is interesting talking about UNRA. I was watching the session in Parliament when the COSASE committee chair did present the report.
Yes.
But you also look at the loopholes that have been in there. It wasn't for this report. I think people needed to know the whole truth about what UNRA is doing and what they are not doing. For example, when you talk about the Entebbe Express, and they're asking for all this money for maintenance, they have been given this money before.
Yes.
And what we look at is an expressway that still has stolen rail, are they called rails? Those ones on the roadside. The fencing is also stolen, and you would see there are parts on that road that actually the fencing got lost like 6 months ago.
Yes.
And has never been replaced. So I think it poses a big question of whether or not they should even be given more money in regard to that, because the one that was given before, where is the accountability?
Yes.
And I think this is where the report is coming in to see where exactly have they been putting that money. And then you did see a lot of members of parliament also coming up to talk about the roads up country. There are contracts that, and one that was interesting is where they put a word like procured road. So a road has been in procurement for the last 5 years. I think the woman member of parliament from, was it Arua, she did talk about a procured road that has been in that same sentence for the last 5 years. And UNRA is not performing in that regard. There are roads that it did put up saying, we're going to work on it, but they actually get the money. So the big question is, if they get that money, where has that money been taken? And also more to do with some of the roads that they already got the money for, even within central Uganda, and the roads are still there, but they're still asking for more money. So I think there is a lot to uncover right there, and I know ministry now has a lot of work. They did talk about, taking at least some time to get back to parliament, but I think Ugandans as well need the answers, because at the end of the day, having poor roads does affect all of us. and it's going to be a big challenge right there, but we need answers, and we need them, I think, as soon as possible.
Well, still speaking of COSASA, it's very interesting because even the speaker has subsequently asked for an audit of the performance of COSASA as a committee. She says, yes, we have tried to investigate a lot of this money that has been used by this fund, but we are not seeing any results. Okay, so we also need an audit of this COSASA, and this is quite pretty much interesting.
But COSASA is doing a very, very good work. Yes, they're
doing good unfinished work.
Unfinished work,
yes.
But guess what? COSASA does a job at investigating and finding out as a committee. They go out there, ask the big questions, ask on behalf of government for accountability, and then they have to present a report. Now, what happens after they have brought the report to Parliament, is also now upon the House itself. So what are we querying from COSASA at this point?
Well, the Speaker says they've invested a lot of money in this committee to carry out their duties, and there are no results, according to the Speaker. That so we are yet to see where this is going to end, but I like where this is going, and probably we'll see who is doing their job, who is not, and who is trying to do some funny business, or trying to make sure that other people seem like they're not doing anything, that they are lazy. But Felix, good morning.
Good morning. How are you feeling?
I'm lovely. How are you feeling?
Isn't it a good day?
Oh, yes, it is.
Throwing back. I didn't hear what you're throwing back to, particularly today.
What am I throwing back to? I don't know yet. I really don't know yet what I'm throwing back to, but I'm sure through the course of our Good Morning Uganda, I will let you know. I'll let you know.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm throwing back to. I don't know why you did your nursery school. Does any of you remember?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and how you used to and how you used to pack your
Lunchbox.
It's not even lunch. Would you even wait for lunch?
Break.
That's a lot of patience, man. break time. And then you had this. Remember that container that was green with a rabbit on it?
And
which
pink,
had,
was it green and pink?
Yeah, pink, green, I think, and some other colors, a couple of colors.
Yes.
That had a white
bottle, yes.
with a rope. I don't know, rope or what?
Really?
String or something.
No.
It is like a string.
Which year did you go to
It
kindergarten?
had a string.
It had a string, actually.
You put in
Mine
your
was
neck.
blue.
Then you open, and it had like this thing
You
like
guys,
for
which year
tomato
did you go to
sauce.
kindergarten?
That's what you used to drink. And then, if you remember that bag we used to take that was made out of sisal, I don't know, was it sisal?
I'm not so sure about that, but
I wouldn't be anyway. but there's that bag, I'm trying to remember the name. It was in box shape, and the cover of the bag wouldn't get off the like prop thing. So
Yeah.
It was a
you,
basket, kind
sort of like, yeah, you just adjust, then you put your stuff, then you put your budget book in there, and
your HP
so
pencil.
there's a lady at just next to my granny's who they paid money to always give me pancakes monthly.
Oh, wow.
But you can imagine, I think she spent just like 150 per month or 200, and I would pass that. They give me every morning diligently. I would pick my pancakes.
Wow.
So you can imagine how smart parents can be.
But
I don't know about today's kindergartens, but what kids take sausage, buttered bread.
Yes. Robert is going to tell us more about
apples,
that. I've heard incest stories like that.
I've looked into a container of a nursery kid. I see a slice of apple, half a banana. There's a sausage or a frankfurter.
Yeah.
Even
Then
chicken.
there's
They even
some
take chicken pieces.
And then there's
Chicken nuggets.
there are two
Yeah.
bottles of juice. There's
One for water
passion, and then there's a bottle of water. I'm like, dude, is this kid going for an eating competition? Like, when will
Balanced diet.
Thank you. Thank you.
come on?
That's a balanced diet.
So what is the school supposed to provide? Man, there was porridge at school, and everyone was waiting. The only problem with that porridge, it had a drop of sugar in it. It had a drop.
And we're not complaining. By the way,
Who
very
even cared
happy
about the sugar?
We ate that porridge very
Oh.
happily, and no wonder we are looking the way we are looking.
So
but
when you're throwing back, nursery times, I remember, were quite. We used to have the good old days anyway.
well, Uncle Bob, good morning. Probably you'll give us a reason as to why the parents with children in the
Pack all those
kindergarten- You've told us a couple of stories here, how you pack for your child, and I'm thinking, I wish I was your child at one point. Please, good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody, our viewers, and of course the entire team. Now, one of the things that Africans we have is we feel our children shouldn't taste what we went through. More so much as it wasn't that very impressive, but it's what made us what we are today. When Felix was going down the memory line, first, a good friend of mine told me that there are certain things you discover only when people are talking. Only when you're listening to their conversation. That's when someone will tell you, government, kuwamba, where were we? I was, okay, that was 1986, so we were this age. But I like my brother, he's just brought those memories back. That bottle that had the head of
Going to
like
look
that.
for that bottle.
I think that's a rabbit or something.
Yeah, it was a rabbit, it was a
I
rabbit.
need to
And
find
then
my
this
bottle.
container, the one they roll like this, it had the top and then the
And
bottom.
The
it
second-
was white.
Come, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So one of the things that was interesting
Because
that
in your
Felix
schools you
didn't talk
pack
about,
things.
much as
different age.
much as actually you'd reach break and some of the pancakes are missing. By the time they tell you to open your container, isn't it cool? Some
By
of
the time
the
you get to the
pancakes,
There were those shoddy guys, eh? Those good boys who are just not.
some of the
idiots.
pancakes are missing, and you're like, or sometimes you reach break and totally there is nothing left in your container. It has not been stolen, but somehow it has found your ways to the stomach.
You know when the teacher would be teaching, you first pull your container here in your legs. Now, writing, vowels, A, E, O. You're like, shh.
And are you aware, Felix?
And you know how it's done? You first feel like you're scratching yourself.
Oh, wow.
When they look at you, when the guy looks away.
The moment you're pronouncing,
And then when they find you,
And actually, Felix has just reminded me of something. When we were the way we pronounce the vowels, I know that something has changed. The kids of today, they pronounce sounds, not.
yeah, the mode of teaching has
Yeah, it
actually
has really
changed. They
changed.
don't
I was
do the
trying to
whole
tell
vowel
my
thing.
son, A, E, I was like, Daddy.
What's that?
I'm like, no, this is A, E, O, woo. He's like, no, we are reading now sounds. And I'm like, sounds? I went to the teacher and I'm like, I think you're teaching my child wrong things. The teacher says, no, we teach them sounds, no longer to teach them the vowels. So I'm
but
like,
when you look at the teacher, they are 21.
yes, now I'm like, how am I going to do the homework
But I
when we
think-
don't come?
What's important is that are
Not
these
the
children
age.
learning the
It's the
words?
new
Are they
curriculum.
pronouncing the words right? We shall go with that. This
Yeah.
whole business that we did of it's
Oh.
okay. It's
No
okay.
wonder these kids have terrible handwritings. They're just doodling.
I
But
knew Felix-
us no, honestly, you remember in nursery, pattern writing.
Yes, I do.
Like, how to
But
hold
they
the pen.
still
Because
do.
for us-
They
Remember, even
still
there's a
do.
point, the kind of pen we used to use. P3, remember? Fountain pen.
Fountain
Like,
pens, yes.
and I
And then you
can't know.
spill the ink via your uniform pocket. It was just too much.
You
Then
guys,
you
there's
dig
also
it.
something to take from the current, I think,
Nothing.
way of teaching.
Yeah.
You guys are just stuck in the past and you want that to be brought back. But this is the new way of doing things.
Which
And
new way?
I'm telling you, have
We
you
just
seen
have to
how
be very
sharp?
dynamic
Have you
and
seen how
flexible.
sharp kids of today? Robert just told us.
How, what?
The son is like, Dad, come on, that is not how we do the things.
And that's
At
sharpness
that
to you,
age,
Mollen.
were you able to do that? Were you
I
able
wouldn't
even
tell that
to-
to-
You didn't even know how to read vowels even when they were teaching them in school. But this is a
that-
kid who knows
Told
exactly
me,
how the whole
Daddy,
curriculum
that
looks
is
like.
wrong.
Well,
So
Like,
meaning that
wrong?
actually the new way of teaching is much better than what was there your time.
you know, I told you at the end of the day, the end results is what matter. Yeah, are our children well studied? As long as they have acquired the education that they should be acquiring, then for the rest of us, me, Felix, we shall catch up with time, I guess. We shall catch up
I
with
don't want to
time.
catch up with this kind
He
of
will
thing.
catch up with time.
Not interested.
Now that is where you find a
make it-
challenge in homework. If the child fails and they ask, who helped you do the homework? I did it with the daddy. Then
honestly,
tomorrow you go to
there's a
school.
time I helped someone with work
And-
and they got 0. Because of that rigidity, like 0. The kid was like, so the next 2 days I'm like, but it's homework, I don't have. Like, I'm like, until someone told me, have you taken time to look at the work you did with this?
Felix, let me tell you the moment of
You
my
need to
time I
shame
felt
Felix.
ashamed. I went to pick my son
Yeah, I
from
felt
school.
so bad. It was quite
And
painful.
then, you know, these kids are so open. Then he said, I think the teacher had laughed at him or something and said, Daddy, first come. So I get out, I go majestically, say, I failed my homework. Teacher, I did it with daddy. Said, are you the one who did the homework? I'm like, yes.
Well.
Said, what an embarrassment. So,
I'm sure parents, very many parents right now have experienced that, but it's very, very interesting to see how things have changed. Well, for now, I will tell you what hasn't changed, the information that's coming through. A lot of news as every other day passes by, local and international.
And well, we'll begin with local stories where the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and the President of the Republic of Uganda yesterday was at the pass-out of senior army officers. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni presided over the graduation ceremony of 18 senior army officers at the National Defense College in Njeru. The President, while at the ceremony, emphasized that security of any country must be provided by its own people because they know what hurts them, hence the need to have officers given strategic exposure to security matters.
Now, Ugandans applying for international travel passports will have to wait until next week to assess the service. This follows plans by Ministry of Internal Affairs to upgrade the system for more efficient services, and the Commissioner Immigration and Passport Control, Brigadier Johnson Namanya, says the office will be closed between 19th to the 20th of January to enable effective services.
And moving to matters of health, Health Mental Coalition of Uganda has recommended for an active complaints mechanism or a fully monitoring body in Butabika Hospital to hold psychiatrist facilities accountable for human rights abuse. This follows a letter published in the newspapers for alleged forceful hospitalization, treatment, sexual exploitation, and others that were done on one of the patients at this hospital.
Now, the Nakawa Chief Magistrate Court Rita Nwembe Kadasa has charged a man accused of assaulting a Levitian woman with rape. Joseph Collins Twahirwa, alias Daddy Collins, who calls himself pastor with Epikaizo Ministries International, Kampala, was remanded to Ruzira prison until the 1st of February. The woman traveled to Uganda for a holiday at his invitation.
Looking at the international stories, New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has said she will resign next month and will not contest this year's general elections. Fighting back tears, Ardern told reporters in Napier on Thursday that February 7th will be her last day in office. Ardern, who became Prime Minister in a coalition government in 2017, looked set to face a tough election campaign this year. While her Liberal Labour Party won re-election 2 years ago in a landslide of historic proportions, recent polls have put her party behind its Conservative rivals. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has written a letter inviting Chinese leader Xi Jinping for talks as Russia's invasion nears its one-year anniversary. The letter was handed over in Davos, Switzerland, to the Chinese delegation at the World Economic Forum, his wife Olena Zelenska said on Wednesday. Zelensky has repeatedly sought to make contact with Xi since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February last year, in the hope that Beijing will use its influence over Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
Biang, Equatorial Guinea president's son, arrested over a plane sale. Now, Equatorial Guinea's vice president personally ordered the arrest of his half-brother over allegations that he sold a plane owned by the state airline, a government statement says. Both the vice president and his half-brother are sons of President Teodoro Nguema Obiang. He is the world's longest-serving president after 43 years in power. Vice President Teodoro Nguema Obiang expressed indignation over the sale. The statement said. Now, Ruslan Obiang, a former director of the Sabre International Airline sold the ATR 72-500 without the approval of the company's board to a Spanish company, authorities say. It is also alleged that he pocketed the proceeds of the sale, and he has not publicly commented on the allegations. His half-brother ordered him to be put under house arrest and then transferred to judicial custody. Now, new data has revealed that temperatures in Greenland are the warmest they have ever been in 1,000 years, underscoring the growing impact of human-driven climate change on the natural world. A study published in the scientific journal Nature on Wednesday found that temperatures have risen 1.5 degrees Celsius above the 20th century average since 1995. The data shows that Greenland's ice cores, samples taken from the deep within the ice sheets and the glaciers, have warmed substantially. Now, as fossil fuel consumption releases carbon into the atmosphere and warms the planet, scientists have warned that governments have yet to make the changes needed to avert the worst precautions of the global warming. Now, in November, a United Nations report found that many of the world's most famous glaciers could disappear by 2050 as the planet warms.
Well, switching to the daily papers, looking at the new vision, Uganda starts drilling oil next month. Well, I guess we should be excited. Country to produce about 230,000 barrels a day by 2025. Now, UPDF's pioneer class graduates at National Defense College. And in the picture there, President Yoweri Museveni with senior army officers who graduated at the National Defense College at Naminya, Njeru Town in Buyikwe district yesterday. Now, the officers have been undergoing training in national security and strategic courses since January 2022. Anglican Church names 3 new bishops, city pastor charged with rape of tourists, and of course MPs police probe Bodo Vienna homosexuality allegations as well. That, and also Parliament intervenes in NSSF top job. Quite a very rich paper this Thursday morning.
Daily Monitor, NSSF power fight, where we trace the origins of the fight, lies, conflicts, and the battles for control of the NSSF. Now, Funds Board hold an extraordinary meeting over the reported management crisis at the NSSF there, and Acting Managing Director speaks out, tells savers the fund is running well. I don't know which well this is anyway. Anglican Church elects bishops. We see Alisa Reverend Onesimus Asimwe for North Kigezi Diocese and Reverend Canon Enos Kito Kagodo for Mukono Diocese, and Reverend Canon Simon Akol Aisu, North Karamoja. And of course, in sports, a fixed fortune defending champ, that is Rafael Nadal, hobbling out of the second round, and FBL advantage to neck as quarter target favorable report there, and captains eager to go big at Waterfalls T20.
And in the New Vision Sports, Ugandans rank high in Africa. 23 Ugandan swimmers were among the 50 that were ranked to be the best in Africa, according to 2022 rankings. And looking at riding to Paris, the Uganda Skating Federation has rolled off their Paris 2024 Olympics qualification pathway with a local qualifier that attracted about 60 participants. Well, while we are dealing with that, also, Robert, I know that you have something to tell us this morning.
My darlings are not with me here, but they'll be popping up on the screen. And when I talk of that, that is Hallelujah Jinga Tea, Hallelujah Tamarind Drink, and Hallelujah Banana Fruit Juice. Now, what these do, they boost your immune system. And that's why they're darlings, because they help you to stay healthy. It's just 1,500 any of the bottles, and they're available at any retail shop, any supermarket. You'll get it. Please, I recommend regular consumption for you to have results present. Well,
you go. Good Morning Uganda is always a two-way conversational kind of discussion between ourselves and you, our family. So, of course, we'll be very happy to know that you have something to say in regards to our topic of the day, which brings me to the poll question that we will be talking about later on in the newsreel. What can be done to avoid increased cases of sexual harassment in Uganda? What can be done to avoid the increased cases of sexual harassment in Uganda? Let us know, and I will be giving you the background of this in a couple of minutes. But for now, we are going to be throwing it back a little bit, and then we'll be back shortly.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
2023, and of course we are back at it, usual business every single morning. Conversations, banter, discussions, all of that is what I am excited to have with you this morning, and of course with Mollen, with Felix, plus Robert as well. Today being Thursday and also the 19th is actually World Memory Day. Appreciation. How well do you take care of your memory? And of course, what have you done? What are some of the sweet memories? Now, what better way to celebrate it if today is Throwback Thursday? Clearly, we're going to be tapping into our memories and see what's that good thing going down the memory lane. That we'll be talking about, but of course also business in Parliament is really getting serious. Looking at the budgets being presented by a number of sectors, reviewing performances. UNRA exactly yesterday was quite on the hot seat with very many parliamentarians in total disagreement with the way they're operating. They do believe they're losing quite a lot of cash when it comes to the weigh bridges, as some cars are being weighed and done what's supposed to be done to them. Others are just left to go. They do believe that that right there is where UNRA as an entity is losing out on cash. They also did highlight the fact that the 1 billion that is actually spent on the maintenance of the Kampala Express, the Entebbe Expressway highway rather, is actually not really. The money is they're questioning the money. They do believe 1 billion is a lot of money to be spent on maintenance. But you think it's a lot, or you think it's worth the purpose? Well, all of that we'll be discussing right about now. Maybe just to start off with you, Mollen. Good morning. How are you doing? Happy Thursday.
Well, it is a happy Thursday and a good morning. I also want to say good morning to our family out there. Now, it is interesting talking about UNRA. I was watching the session in Parliament when the COSASE committee chair did present the report.
Yes.
But you also look at the loopholes that have been in there. If it wasn't for this report, I think people needed to know the whole truth about what UNRA is doing and what they are not doing. For example, when you talk about the Entebbe Express, and they're asking for all this money for maintenance, they have been given this money before.
Yes.
And what we look at is an expressway that still has stolen rail, are they called rails? Those ones on the roadside. The fencing is also stolen, and you would see there are parts on that road that actually the fencing got lost like 6 months ago.
Yes.
And has never been replaced. So I think it poses a big question of whether or not they should even be given more money in regard to that, because the one that was given before, where is the accountability?
Yes.
And I think this is where the report is coming in to see where exactly have they been putting that money. And then you did see a lot of members of parliament also coming up to talk about the roads up country. There are contracts that, and one that was interesting is where they put a word like procured road. So a road has been in procurement for the last 5 years. I think the woman member of parliament from, was it Arua, she did talk about a procured road that has been in that same sentence for the last 5 years. And UNRA is not performing in that regard. There are roads that it did put up saying, we're going to work on it, but they actually get the money. So the big question is, if they get that money, where has that money been taken? And also more to do with some of the roads that they already got the money for, even within central Uganda, and the roads are still there, but they're still asking for more money. So I think there is a lot to uncover right there, and I know ministry now has a lot of work. They did talk about, taking at least some time to get back to parliament, but I think Uganda...
was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
keeping an eye on all your balance the old way.
I got this. yeah. Balance is... yeah.
What is he up to now?
Star 11.
Keeping an eye on all your balance with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to see all your balance in one place and in real time. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
I don't miss you.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Welcome to the newsreel with 6 minutes past 7 a.m. My name is Philomena Mastiko, and I am with Felix Nkonda, where we are going to be discussing matters concerning rape here in Uganda. The cases are growing high, and every other day we are seeing new stories here and there. Of course, the most recent one being in the face of the media about this Latvian tourist who was raped by a Ugandan pastor. And I mean, things have not really gone down so well, but at least as far as we know is that the law has come into play, and hopefully justice is going to do its role in all of this. But before we get into the details of our topic of discussion, and maybe just to remind you of our poll question, where we would love to hear from you, especially when it comes to these cases in Uganda. What can be done to avoid increased cases of sexual harassment cases in Uganda? What can be done to avoid the increased cases of sexual harassment in Uganda? Hashtag UBCGMU, and WhatsApp number is 0709 602 592. Well, looking at the story maybe as a foundation for our discussion, this Ugandan pastor called Joseph Collins Twahira was brought to police after after complaints were presented by one tourist called Anda. Now she's Latvian, and the moment she touched you know, Ugandan soils. She was supposed to go for, she was supposed to get into her Airbnb in Makindye, but later on went for, I think it was worship. She went for a worship session at the so-called pastor's church.
Uncle what? Daddy?
Oh, yeah, the locals call him Uncle Daddy. Is it Uncle Daddy or Daddy Collins? Yeah, no, I think it's Daddy.
Whatever,
yeah, Daddy
is,
Collins.
right.
Yes, and I mean, it's very sad and unfortunate. Number one, because it is rape. Rape is just wrong at all levels. There is nothing. There is no excuse whatsoever. And this gentleman, 28 years old, and the victim, 36 years. So it's very, very sad, and it's very painful to see that even right now in 2023, we are in the very first month of January, but we're still registering cases of rape like this. I mean, the questions are, what have we not done, or what are we doing wrong to continue seeing cases like this? Of course, police was involved. 3 other officers were arrested because on cases of fraud as well. So it's very confusing and disturbing. But getting back to the topic, I mean, sexual harassment cases, it's not even only this. We know that they're everywhere. Anywhere that you would possibly never think of. Who would actually think this would be in a church? Who would think that you'd have a pastor involved in this? So we have all these sexual harassment cases. Could be in hospitals, it could be in schools, it could be in your workplaces, it could be in churches. There is no place that is safe from all of that. But the question is, why are they happening? Why have we enabled them in all these places? Felix, I don't know.
Have we enabled them?
I think we have. I think we have.
If you want to look at it that way, and when you're talking, just yesterday, either yesterday or the other day, I was on the road, I think somewhere in Wandegea, and I saw a gentleman like slap a lady's buttocks. I think one of these ladies who serve food, you know, a lady who move with food. Man, I was in shock.
You get disturbed.
And it seemed so normal for the people who were around. I was really, really, like, it was so disturbing. It got me thinking, like, how do you even get the courage in public? Anyway, back to the story. Sexual harassment, as it is, Philomena, is one of those offenses that has been categorically isolated to be criminal, as a matter of fact, because it does range from why a number of offenses, which include but not limited to, one, there's rape, it could be defilement, it could be actual assault, sexual assault, just to mention but a few.
Yes.
And this could take various forms. It could be even verbal, you know.
Usually we get to think it's physical, and we cut out the verbal bit.
Yeah, because we've not been given the opportunity to have some good jurisprudence in relation to verbal sexual harassment. But it does happen, and that's what probably one of the most common ones. It has been hidden under gender-based violence. You know, when people say those funny things because of your sex, you know, those insults that come to you because of a particular appearance or what. But when I saw this story, the first thing that came to my mind, I was interested to find out, who is this person?
The culprit?
I don't know if I should call him a boy, the one they call daddy, or what daddy call him.
He's not a boy.
He's a boy.
28 years.
Philomena, between you and me, what business is a 20-year-old doing pastoring a church? Let's quit the drama and this whole halabaloo of trying to lie to Ugandans. What is a 20-year-old doing pastoring a church? Kali, let's say he has inspiration of the Holy Spirit, which we love so much, by the way. But at that age, and with due respect, there are so many things you're yet to learn about ministry.
28 is such a young age for you to be doing whatever it is that he was doing.
You can't carry, now the results are there before our eyes. 28 years, why aren't you under someone's mentorship if you want to be a minister? And that's where we normally lose the track when it comes to our brothers and sisters under the Pentecostals.
Yes.
That self-actualization and self-emancipation needed early. People jump into a task. You're 28, you're handling a lot of money, you're handling a lot of the pressures. When you go to our brothers and sisters on the other side, which could be from the Anglicans and the Catholics, probably also the Muslims, there's a process. And one of the reasons, you see, at that age, there are things that happen in a snap. Probably this gentleman is not a married man. We are not privy to that information.
Yes.
But imagine if maybe someone becomes a pastor, and one of the qualifications, having a family is key for those who believe in that line.
Yes.
For the Catholics, they will tell you, for us, we are not in. But and I can tell you without fear of contradiction, the Catholic Church may not ordain someone before they turn a particular age, because there is purpose into it. You go to the various mosques in these countries and tell me that there is an imam or a sheikh who is 28, 25, 20 what. When I was at campus, I used to hear boys around campus, there's money, papa, mama. And before you know, when you're in first year, they're calling themselves papa, mama. By the time you go in fourth year, they are calling themselves bishop. Bishop?
How? Yes.
Bishop? Okay. Now, those are some of the... You see, when ego comes before you, you're meant to hit the rock. Sexual assault or sexual harassment in this country has grown continuously because of these three elements. And I want to look at them categorically. One, lack of proper judicial procedures that give us benefiting results out of such kind of processes, judicial processes. On a spectrum of 10 people who are accused of sexual harassment, how many of them are actually apprehended?
Yes.
You find that probably only 3. If this wasn't a foreigner, maybe we wouldn't have heard of this story, let's be honest.
Yes.
The number of sexual harassment cases happening behind the veils of churches, mosques, these religious institutions will shock you. And this cuts across not only Pentecostals, you go to the Protestants, Protestants, I think it's a bit fairly, but it's not until we had one of the bishops also. Sexual harassment is curtailed by how speedy the trials are. If people feel motivated that when matters of sexual harassment are reported to courts of laws, police takes action. But what happens in this country?
Actually, even before we get into that, because right now, according to the statistics, 1 out of 5 of women aged 15 to 49 years, they experience the first sexual.
That's a matter of fact.
But you see, already that is a problem.
Absolutely.
But the fact that when these victims report to the people in authority, police and all that, they are met or they are, responded with a lot of skepticism, actually very,
judgment.
Yes, and judgment. Most of these guys you'll go to, they will probably ask you, where is the proof? Are you sure? Especially if it's now like verbal. It's a little bit hard unless there were people who are there.
Yeah,
how are you going to to prove that you are actually sexually? So very many women.
Even if it was physical, by the way.
Actually, yes.
You can imagine, and do you know why that happens in that way? It's because our legal systems have not appreciated a conclusive approach to sexual harassment matters or cases for that matter. Like they look at them as a by-the-way forum. They look at them as a happening that causes not much loss. Like, let's say if someone insulted you, like they will ask, so what did you lose? Yet some offenses
yes.
are entirely psychological. Now, as I've told you, all this also leans towards what I was saying earlier, that when you look at what is, and these three institutions must have a direct relationship with fighting sexual harassment. One, the judicial system. The judicial system. How expeditious are matters dealt with when you go to courts of law? Does the trial take years? But this torment, the person is still carrying the torment with them all this time, because they have to come to court probably and testify all these times and facing their tormentors. You can imagine. But secondly, the biggest other problem is culture. And culture, this entails customs and the practices we have appreciated as a given society. In our customs, there's something they call respect. Now, I also want to bring it to your notice that most of the cases of sexual harassment are in-house. I think when I say in-house, I mean are the inner circle. The offenders and the offended are inner circle, all of them.
Yes.
You have uncle, whatever.
Could be a cousin. It could be, yes.
Father, stepdaughter. That is, out of 10 cases, you find at least 5 of the cases are people that these ladies or men or children know. Now, how does that happen? It brings us back to the things you have appreciated. The customarily, because of this thing they call respect and fear for elders and what. Out of 10 girls today, some of you people who are getting married, make your wives your friends and they will tell you. Most of them have been raped, sexually harassed by the uncles, by those mania, these friend uncles, the ones who are friends to your dad, always you call them uncles. But they have never told anyone some of these things. Why? Chakuswara, respect,
yes.
respect. And that's why, most recently we have been saying time and again, when you're raising children, be very much intentional. Who they meet, where they spend time and all these things. Teach your children to speak out or make them your friends to tell you some of these things. You know, we have had cases where we have had children who have contracted HIV/AIDS. And it could have been avoidable in various ways because there are many ways. Someone is raped or forced into sexual intercourse, which is nevertheless anyway rape. And they keep quiet because of fear, yet they could have saved a life. But this torment also goes on. Today we have been having arguments, even earlier we had a discussion, the rising numbers of homosexualities.
Yes.
One of the causes is sexual harassment. A girl can hate a male species for life because of what happened to them. Because of that trauma, they tell you, me,
is there
yeah, I
and never
don't
goes.
want,
Yes.
I rather go with girls. We have had these stories. They come and tell you, me, I had nothing to do with men. One of the causes of the increase of homosexuality is those sexual harassment. So we must open our eyes in families. The third one is, there's this thing, there's an institution called police. And they make deployments, I think, according to necessity or need, but not necessarily to expertise and knowledge. You get a 1X and put him in charge of, say, family affairs and all this, and they hardly know anything about some of these. Like you talked about verbal harassment.
Yes.
And people don't see it. Like people follow their sensations and emotions than what actually is the law. Now, not until we take time to sensitize Ugandans about what is sexual harassment,
yes,
what are the dangers, and how does it manifest, we are going to have lots of problems. This particular case, Philomena, is one that is an indicator of what happens on a daily.
Yes.
By the time someone carries on an activity, and you see, I'm sorry I may sound a bit, but personally, and with due respect, I normally double check when someone tells me they're a pastor. I put on my brake pads.
Yes, because you have had stories in the past, and now the trust issues are there.
And it's international, by the way.
It's not only just health.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've traveled, and when you're traveling and you see the way they check some of these people, religious leaders, is not the way they check normal people. One of my priest friends were telling me it is the worst thing to travel with your collar.
You'd rather put it off and just...
Yeah, you'd rather just...
like an ordinary
because
person.
They will check you. Now, that's how low that institution has gone of our religious leaders. But the other question, who presides over? Where is the mentorship? If you want to be specific about the story, the example you gave.
Yes.
Shouldn't we be discussing mentorship of the people who are in charge of our children, of our wives, of our sons, of our husbands?
But also, Felix, is that a guarantee? Because I still want to believe, I'm sure we've also heard stories about, it's not only like the religious leaders. We have seen people in higher places holding positions of great power. Now, you'd want to believe that a person who is holding a position like that, they have the sanity to know that this is right, this is wrong. But the cases that we've had, the reported cases, the unreported cases, when you hear the culprits and the victims are the people who are in these high positions. I want to believe people in these places have, previously I used to think they have great senses of judgment and discernment, but it's just not. I feel like it goes down to even the personal character, because yes.
I love the fact that you're bringing out that I wasn't, but the fact that you brought it up about the people in high office. And when we get to that point, you'll even cry. You'll shed tears on this show.
Need a box of tissue placed in front of me.
I can tell you. You see, society is defined by standards. And this is what I was saying a couple of days ago. In this beautiful country, people pride to call Pearl of Africa, and so many names are here, the Smiland of whatever, honey and who. All those beautiful things are useless if a country has no standards it moves by. You know, one of the biggest challenges we face as a country is everyone has an island of authority. People in this country do what they want and they get away with it. When you go to what you call workplace sexual harassment, go to universities here.
We could spend a year right
Go
here.
to universities.
Yes.
And talk to these young girls. The people who do journalism as investigations and whatever, you go to any of the gates of the universities in town. I won't mention names. Out of every 10 girls you see, at least 3 or 4 have faced that. You can start counting. Just ask them casually that, have you ever faced a situation like this? Have you ever been asked for this? You'll be shocked. Go to these big offices you see, and you see you men, again, husbands, when your woman is coming home with parcels of money and getting promotions every day, be bold to ask.
Where is that money coming from? Yes.
You may be there when you're sharing a woman with a boss. And this is the normal thing. Like, because we lack standards, national ethic standards, we don't have these things. And these things, you see, they start as they manifest in the smallest of mannerisms, and we don't care. I'll give you one of the examples. When you see how people behave outside in the public, imagine how they behave in private. You know, you can tell how someone's behavior or how they understand by how they drive on the road. You can know the kind of person that, or father or mother, someone out of the blue insults someone, vulgar, just says a vulgar word openly.
Yes.
Because of what? Someone maybe just did a very small thing. Hey, well, your mother. Now, that person is a father. Now, if he can, you see, those are the indicators of national values and standards. Sexual harassment is not a disease that is about to be cured in this country if we don't deal with our national morals, because who is going to tell the other? In Uganda, as we would say, ani agenda ogamba ku munne.
You know, again, which in relatably, I feel like as a Ugandan public, or the public generally, we have just lost shame. We have lost, our conscience has subsided. We don't care, and we don't get angry if justice is not served to the, you know,
as
to the
long
victims.
as it is not your justice,
yes,
whoever
we
else
are not
does,
concerned.
deal with the pain.
Yes.
Like honestly and truly. And I want to question this particular one. We want to go to government officials in Ministry of Gender, Ministry of Internal Affairs, the police. When we had this video of this lady, this young girl who was beaten, many other videos have been coming up. There's one who slapped a girl. The girl felt like a tenor. But me, I've told people continuously, keep on beating people's daughters. One day you'll beat someone's daughter who will not even bother go to police, but they'll beat you in the same equal measures, like the Bible says. But what my point was this: you look at such videos, people want to use that for showbiz. The police, it's press conference, we got who? A couple of days ago, we saw a school which was carrying out celebrations, and we saw an exhibition that seemingly was homosexual celebrations. And they were saying to each other, this is my girlfriend, this is... And tell you what, I've not seen anyone come out to make comment. Which is the worst evil we are looking at here? We are keeping quiet about things that matter in this country. The leaders of the Pentecostals, they come out to make press conferences about things that not their business. But who's talking about these things that are happening in church?
Yes.
Every time they take pulpits to assault each other, to attack, but who's talking about these things? This daddy, whatever, what daddy of the daddy Colin, daddy, this young man who raped the lady. Probably he has done it before. When you go to criminology and penology, actions of offenders, capital offenders, you must take time and trace back. These have been mannerisms of their practice. Probably we only know because this person is a foreigner. But if you're keen to interest yourself, you find that this person has done this several times. Go to those church girls who are kuba pastor all the time, beda we morera kubasomba. Omukisa mafuta. What mafuta is a petrol station? Those, you will find that this guy probably has had sexual affairs with all these girls. But no one cares to talk about these things. And when you look at, you see, as long as it is, this is what you're saying, as long as it's not about me,
then it doesn't concern me.
It's not my daughter who was raped. But before you know, the rapists are still there. And they're getting encouraged.
Yes.
Maybe your daughter is next. Last time we had a discussion, and you see, Philomena, it is sad for some of us who are parents, the pain we feel when we see some of these things happen. One, you have people who have been let loose. If you walk on the streets of Kampala, and I can tell you, you can just walk Jinja Road here, you'll see the levels of crime that happens just in a span of about 30 minutes that goes unanswered.
Yes.
The way someone drives, a taxi man will park in the middle of the road, and he'll create jam for about 2 minutes.
Yes. And he's not going to be held accountable.
You dare tell him, they are
going to have insults.
Tell you a word that you'll go home and carry research about. A border will, traffic lights no longer have so people just, those are the small indicators that lead to the big challenges we face. And that's why someone does something because they are used to the criminality. I will get away with it. They know that sometimes even when we have had rape cases, and tell what do parents do? Because of poverty, they go to negotiate. And but someone's life has been changed forever and ever. They'll never be the same again.
Yes. Also, Felix, you were talking about the culture, and it just reminded me, we can't talk about this as a cause causing the high number in the cases, yes, of sexual harassment we've seen. The whole idea of the toxic masculinity, which usually is ingrained in the young boys, it's very hard to shake off when they're adults. And in fact, I feel like when it comes to the justice system, it also has a way, it has a share in all of this, or at least there is an effect that is trickled down into the justice system. It's not because the justice or the people in the judiciary because sometimes they're struggling with cases of human rights. I feel like it's not that the law is not clear. The law is clear, but they know the society.
There's a clash.
Yeah, they know the societies that we live in. They know the people in these societies. So there is a lot of resistance.
And even in addition,
the law and culture.
There's a big clash between culture, customs, and law. And that's what earlier on I think we were saying, that when you look at the morality vis-a-vis the law, there's a big clash. That morally some things can pass, but legally they can't pass.
Yes.
You get the point. Legally they can't pass. We have cultures here where, if you've heard of those stories, that a father used to first sleep with the son's daughter to make sure she was whatever.
Yes.
And then those are, then you have ayasenga, all those things. But that's for the culture. But now, because of civilization, we have a legal regime that hosts many of these cultural practices. Now, that toxic masculine appearance has ceased to be relevant. And I want to say this again without fear of contradiction. You get it? Because rape is defined. Defilement is defined by the law. And between you and me, as long as there's a contradiction between a legal regime and what you want to call culture, customs, practices, just to mention but a few, definitely the law will supersede. It will take. Now, imagine a situation like this, and these are the things we are saying time again and again, that we lack sensitization. How many of Ugandans have taken time to understand what rape is actually and what is in there? Philomena, bana bava mu byalo. These kids come from villages to the towns to look for jobs. Very, I don't know, green as it may be.
Yes.
Ignorant about all these things. And people take advantage of them. You've seen these stories. People come, mwana wanga bereko ewa auntie we Philomena, kumbe the husband,
but they can be here for a while.
Yeah, yes. I mean, from there as they try to find life. And what happens? Now, parents, you have a big job to do. These are things we are saying, and these things are all related. From the stories you have been talking about, talk about homosexuality, talk about sexual abuse, talk about harassment, talk about these whole things of these girls, the pretty whatevers. These things are all talking about or taking us to the same thing. Parents, what is your role in parenting? Let's stop this business. You're dilly-dallying. You're talking about work. You're working as you're losing your children. A girl and a girl come openly in a video and they are romancing. They say, I am my boyfriends of this one, then the other one. And the mothers, let's be interested in the affairs of our children as parents. Because, I mean, that's a cut-out duty of us as parents. What are our children doing? What are they doing? Who are they seeing?
It should be your business.
Zeno, night prayer. A teenager, you're going for night prayer. In whose house now?
Well, the poll question, what can be done to avoid the increased sexual harassment?
What you're trying to say, Philomena, there's no night in my house. All the time.
Or you can't have prayers in your house during
That's
that
how you have
time.
the night prayers in your bedroom. Is it always daytime in my house? Light prayer. Buziba ku kasozi yokka.
What can be done to
Oba mu
avoid
church.
the increased sexual harassment cases in Uganda? And there is a lot of feedback coming in from a number of viewers. There is one viewer saying sexual harassment to me is a matter that needs so much attention, especially from two arms of the government, Parliament and the judiciary. They must come up with hard enforced punishment for those criminals. Of course, this has been an argument for a while. You know, we give them light punishment. And in fact, Felix, at the start when I said, I feel like we as, you know, the people, we kind of enable it. We may not necessarily notice how we do, but if our punishments that we are giving to the culprits
are not deterring enough.
Yeah, they're not, I mean, like, I will go serve my time, come back. I mean, we have seen people who do that.
If they actually serve the time.
Yes. They will be taken behind the bars, come back, still do the same thing, taken back. It becomes a pattern, it becomes a cycle, and we have become very comfortable with that. So maybe we need to look so much into the punishment bit and see what we can do. There is also another viewer here who is saying that sexual harassment can be decreased by avoiding close contact with strangers. Well, I hate to break it to you, sir or ma'am. It's no longer, it's not even
with the people,
you're well versed with.
Yeah,
could be family, could be family, friends, all of these people. It's not.
Don't tell as long as those titles.
Nope.
From what? This kajanja of parents. From what?
Well, there you go. And I mean, I will tell you that of course, every cloud has a silver lining. I am very glad. For one of the reasons that I'm glad that COVID-19 happened, we saw what happens in these families.
Yeah.
We saw, aside from the other issues, I was very happy that this happened and families got to know who their people are actually, who their relatives are, because the cases that were reported, especially by the victims, you could see there is a relative in there somewhere, an uncle, I don't know, an auntie, a cousin. It was a mess. So really, there is a lot of work that still needs to be done there. But also coming in from another viewer says, this discussion is actually absolutely hitting what is going on in society. He says that there is also sexual harassment from husbands to their wives also. Well.
That has been a hard topic for us since the times of university. I remember we did a case, it was from India, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Where we struggled with that particular ruling where there was marital rape.
Yeah.
I don't know if you...
The marital rape has always been, and there is a gray area around it. It actually happens, but
it does.
Yes,
it does.
Articulating some of the details
and
in
I've
there.
been imparted to a particular matter in Uganda. When I told you I think about it, a lady who gave birth and the husband the next morning said, "Me, I want to have sexual intercourse." You can imagine. So I think that's harassment. People are not taking in count the feelings of the moods, the feelings they have. You know, there can be bad days and people just don't even want to be touched.
That's true. That's true.
But
there is one final comment from one viewer who says this thing called sexual harassment is actually way too much right now, and it's not only happening to women but also to us men. The reason why sexual harassment can't cap, it's because the victims feel victimized, and if they are brought in broad daylight after it has happened. I think this is something that you were talking about earlier, the fear of coming out to report.
But you know what brings about the fear? What brings about the fear is how society handles it. Because of those challenges that we talked about earlier, the stereo about, for example, how do you come and say a man was harassed? The first shot.
And yet it actually happens.
It happens.
It happens.
You go in inboxes. Go in a man's inbox. A woman can send you messages. Look up and they're like
sending you
in a competition.
Pictures.
Hey, they're like in a competition. So those things happen, like in workplaces. Those kind of things, they happen. So
Well, it's good morning, Uganda. The discussion is still ongoing on Twitter and WhatsApp. Feel free to let us know what you think about this. For now, Mollen is coming through with more from weather and climate segment and probably give you what will be happening during the course of the day, whether it will rain or shine. But also looking at our papers, the Daily Nation this morning, Moi's land grab case spells doom for big thieves, and also giving you more details on that, and also looking at how trouble awaits families of at least 3 governors, MPs and other politicians in the Supreme Court. Well, there is also that, but also 4 families own more than 22 million poorest. Well, there is also that story for you to catch in the Daily Nation. Grab yourself that copy. The Citizen as well. India's speaker well, grab yourself a copy of The Citizen and the Daily Nation and get more stories on that. Don't forget to grab the Daily Monitor and the New Vision. Mollen will be in right after the break. Good morning.
Keeping an eye on all your balance the old way.
I got this. Yeah. Balance is. Yeah.
What is he up to now?
*11.
Keeping an eye on all your balance with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to see all your balance in one place and in real time. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
You do miss him.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Still, we are going to be looking at the traffic updates, and then later on we'll be getting into the weather updates. Now, we're starting off with that road that comes within if you're joining town using Nakawa. Now, it looks like that is a clear road for this morning. We are looking at mostly green lines, meaning that that is quite okay for you to use this morning. But then again, if you're headed into town, you might want to look at some of the routes that you will be taking from there. Now, we're looking at that road from Chireka. If you're joining into that road that comes from Nakawa, that also looks to be quite clear with mostly green lines over there. And of course, as you head into town through Bweyogerere, you look at quite a few areas that have a little bit of traffic. That is if you're joining into the Kampala-Jinja highway. Now, across that, you also look at more of that also being quite clear in green lines. You just have a few areas where you have a little bit of traffic, but then that does clear along the way as you join in from, that is the areas of Nakawa, Bweyogerere, as you join the Jinja highway. Now, also moving forward, if you're heading into Kampala, you're looking at more green lines, meaning that it is actually very, very good traffic for this morning. Now, across the Namamve area, that is when you also start to see a little bit of traffic building up, but also that is mostly for people that are leaving town. Now, for those joining town, you can expect a little bit of clear traffic over there. Now, again, as you head into town, you look at more of the roads getting clear. And of course, that is where you can also take the Jinja-Kampala highway if you're heading into town. Now, traffic does build up as you head into Kampala Road. And of course, joining further into the Bombo Road, that is where you have a little bit of traffic building up. That is one you might have to look out for. Away from that, we also want to take a look at what we're having this morning across the weather section. We'll be tapping in from our satellite. And of course, we did start off with mostly cloudy weather that was across the southern part of the country. We also have a little bit of a rainy system that is starting to develop across the Lake Victoria Basin. And that is one we are also keeping an eye on. Most likely, it will be bringing us a little bit of rains. That is mostly to the central part of Lake Victoria. We did see a rainy system yesterday morning, also originating from most of these systems that do start off from the lake. Otherwise, it is quite a sunny morning across northern Uganda. Much sunshine actually for parts of Gulu Padel. You look at Arua Yumbe, also starting off quite sunny. We're looking at all the way extending to midwestern Uganda. So Hoima, Masindi, where you see the open colors right there, the open gray colors, that is indicating sunny skies. Now that takes in southwestern Uganda as well. We're looking at Kabale Highlands, Mbarara also starting off mostly sunny, extending all the way up to Masaka. That does take in the central parts of Lake Victoria, Kampala, Mukono. You're looking at Wakiso, Entebbe also starting off quite sunny. We're looking at crossing all the way into the central parts of Uganda as well as the eastern area, where we're starting off also with sunny weather and temperatures are quite warm. But we're also going to be looking at mostly what is happening in terms of our climate news. Now, there has been a report, a very disturbing report about the amount of temperatures we could be looking at, especially for this year, but also an anomaly that has been realized for December 2022 that does indicate that we could be going already past the 1.5 degrees centigrade mark. Now, also more concerns are coming in, especially when you look at the Arctic, where there has been reportedly a lot of glacier melting, and of course that has been related to the increase of temperatures in that area. And people are coming up to say, look, we're talking about the Arctic, we're talking about glaciers melting. This is not a place that we're just visiting. This is home. And what we're doing to it doesn't feel like it is what you would do to your home. This is a very good caption coming in from Greenpeace. They did make the analysis talking about how much the Arctic has been warming, but also most of these glaciers that keep a balance with the temperatures all over the planet, when they melt away, then you can actually look at some of the indicators that climate change is happening. And that is a huge one right there, because we're also looking at possibly a plus 1 degree Celsius mark being overturned by the last 200 years. And of course, also going into some of the analysis that were made, you look at the air temperatures also being now put at the 4th warmest on record. Those are the conditions in the Arctic for December 2022. And you look at the sea ice extent, the kind of ice that usually makes that sheet over there, over the ice. That is where we're saying that it is now at the 7th lowest on record, whereby it could actually be going for more of those records. The 8th lowest on record as well, if you look at the sea ice volume. And this is something the scientists are coming up to warn the world and say, look, we could be looking at more air temperatures disrupting the extent of ice, because as far as we know, this is one thing that actually does keep a balance when it comes to regulating temperatures. But also Eddie Hawkins, one of the scientists that actually does come up with more of the analysis concerning temperature rising across the globe, has also mapped the changes every year from 1850 to 2022. And these are indicating how temperatures have been rising across the world, and of course indicating mostly, if you look at the first years from 1850s to the 1960s, you look at most of those in blue colors right there on the screen. You could see mostly blue colors. But then again, as you continue right from the 1880s into 2000s, then you start to see more of the red colors popping up on those little maps over there. That is indicating warming. And now he does actually give up more of the analysis done in 2000s right there in the 2020s, where we're seeing mostly red colors right there. So that is indicating that the planet is warming, and most of it has been related to climate change, and at that point human-induced climate change, because also the analysis that did come out from the World Meteorological Organization does indicate that 90% of the changes that we're seeing right now related to climate are actually because of human activities. Now that ranges from poor farming practices to industrial activities that have actually been putting a lot of fossil fuels at play. We did see yesterday and a couple of days actually when there was a strike in Germany about activists protesting the expansion of a coal mine. That means the more we use the fossil fuels, the more we're putting our planet at a warming trend, because we are getting more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Now, what is worrying more on those gases is carbon dioxide that does come from most of those fossil fuels. So when you see the activists striking, they're worried about more gases getting into the atmosphere and in turn warming the planet, which of course now comes with its extreme weather events ranging from heat waves to the floods to the droughts. The only way we can avoid it is you cut the problem from the source. You avoid the use of fossil fuels in the first place, and maybe we can look at a better world. Now, from that, we also want to take a look into what we're expecting this morning across Uganda. We'll be getting into the forecast that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, and that is indicating mostly rainy weather that is forecast for this morning across the eastern side of Lake Victoria. We're talking about Kirabo, Busia, Iganga, and Jinja, where we do expect a warm morning as well. That will be at 28 degrees centigrade. We're looking at the western side of Lake Victoria, where we have Masaka, Kalisizo, Sembabule, and Rakai. We are forecasting isolated rains. Those will be starting off with a warm 27 degrees centigrade. Now, also southwestern Uganda, we're looking at Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi, and Rubirizi. We are forecasting light rains. Those will be coming in as the morning progresses, and also most of that will cross over into the afternoon. We're looking at temperatures going up to 25 degrees centigrade, quite chilly for this morning. Now, Mount Elgon area, we're looking at Mbale, Bududa, Buko, and Sironko. We're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine. That will be starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. And also most of that will continue into the afternoon with mostly sunny intervals. We're looking at eastern Uganda, where we have Soroti, we have Katakuya, Muria, and Kumi. We're forecasting mostly a sunny morning for you with intervals of cloudy conditions later on in the day, but it is still a warm morning at 30 degrees centigrade, and it will be getting warmer even in the afternoon. The eastern side of Lake Victoria, we have Ruwero, Woblenzi, Bururi, Nakaseke. We're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, mostly a sunny morning for you, also starting off quite hot at 29 degrees centigrade, but that area can expect to have a little bit of rains come through in the afternoon. That will be for eastern parts of Central. Now we're looking at the central area of northern Uganda, Jumani, Gulu, Kitgum and Badel. We're forecasting mostly a sunny morning for you with intervals of cloudy conditions, but mostly sunny over the area, and that will be taking the afternoon as well. But quite a hot morning at 30 degrees. We could be looking at the lower 30s still later in the afternoon. The central part of Lake Victoria Basin, that is where we have Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso. We're looking at isolated showers starting off your morning. Also quite a pleasant weather at 26 degrees centigrade. Those rains will be coming in mid-morning as we head into the afternoon over several places, and most likely that system will be the same, extending all the way up to the western side of Lake Victoria. So Masaka, Rengo could also be looking at more of the rains coming through later in the afternoon, and also for areas within southwestern Uganda. That does take in also the Kabale Highlands and across the Rwenzori area. You can expect to have a little bit of rains come through later in the afternoon. Otherwise, the rest of the country will continue with mostly sunny intervals, and much sunshine is still forecast for northern Uganda as well as eastern Uganda. And of course, that does correlate with the fact that the forecast that was issued out for this season, that is talking about January and February, is mostly for sunny conditions. So even when we have a few rains popping in, that does not really contribute much when it comes to wet weather activities. We will still be having mostly dry and sunny conditions for much of Uganda. Well, that is it in terms of our weather updates for this morning, but we'll be having the agenda coming up. Later than that, we'll also be taking you through sports highlights. Big night for the Uganda Cranes last night. We'll be taking you through all that. Later than that, we'll also be getting into Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. Have a good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Keeping an eye on all your balance the old way.
I got this. Yeah. Balance is... Yeah.
What is he up to now?
Star 11.
Keeping an eye on all your balance with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to see all your balance in one place and in real time. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
I do miss him.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking, to the taste of food that takes you on a journey, in the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth, in the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Welcome to English in a Minute. If you have ever been in love, you know it can affect you in many ways. Sometimes you can't even eat or sleep.
Okay, yesterday I had dinner with Josh and his new girlfriend.
What did you think?
She is really rude. She actually yelled at the waiter in the restaurant for bringing her the wrong dish. Josh just does not see how unpleasant she is.
I guess it's true. Love is blind.
Love is a very powerful feeling. When we are in love, sometimes we do not think clearly or see clearly. So, when we are in love with someone, we may refuse to see anything bad about that person. We are, in some ways, blind to their faults. And that's English in a Minute.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
A lovely morning to you, and thank you so much for being with us here on UBC TV. Welcome to this very interesting segment, like others are, which is Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now, like what we do in this segment, we have a guest in studio. We discuss issues of national concern, and the interesting bit of it is you're able to be part of the topic of discussion by simply going to our various social media platforms. Send us that WhatsApp message, send us that text message, and of course, the guest will be able to reply or give you the answers that you need for that topic. I'm Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono, and this is Good Morning Uganda. All the way from 6:30 is when we begin till the hour of 9 with an extension of Good Morning Uganda Extra. Now, today we are going to be discussing something that has affected a number of people. That is today and tomorrow. Now, this is the upgrading of the passport system. If you have been following events on the news, it was yesterday when officials from Ministry of Internal Affairs, more so, that is the passport office, were at the media center, held a press conference, and said their offices, not only in Uganda, but even those that will be abroad, will not be working or giving any services You want to apply for a passport, that facility now is not running. You are supposed to pick yours today, that is not working. You're supposed to come for an interview, that is not possible for today and tomorrow because there is a passport system upgrade and maintenance going on. Now, joining you on set this morning is the spokesperson of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Simon Peter Monday, with whom we are going to be discussing this. Simon, yes. You're welcome to our show.
Thank you, Robert. Glad to be here. Good morning, viewers.
How have you been? You know, the other time we were having issues of passports are not enough. Then I hosted you here and you assured us. Now, anybody who wants a passport from today, that is history. In fact, now we are just stuck with people who are not collecting their passports. But for us, we've done our job. Passports are many. We are not complaining. Yeah. So we're like, fine. The struggle has now come to an end.
True.
As you were there yesterday, there's a press conference at the media center. And guess what? Had for 2 days closure. Now, to begin with, why are we seeing, from the time we said we are moving into the East African passport and phasing out the old passports, though a number of Ugandans may still have the old passports, they look at their expiry date and they are sure my passport is still running, but that passport is invalid as of now. You must have the internationally recognized passport, which many now call the East African passport. So, could this be the cause of the troubles we are going through? Weren't we ready enough? Because we never had these hassles before going into this East African passport issue, the new passport that you said is digital, has many features. It seems maybe it could be the cause of these problems.
Morning again, Robert. Not really. What is happening is something that normally happens elsewhere, in banks, in all other institutions, you know. Systems need to be upgraded, maintained periodically, from time to time. Now, what is happening is, ever since we transited from the manual passports, I remember I came here and explained, we put in place a brand new system, and this system is the one that processes and issues digital passports, what we call electronic passports. Now, we installed this system in 2018, December 2018. How many years now? I think it is coming to 5 years, ever since we put in place this system. At the time we put this system in place, we were serving a population of about, that time around about 1,000 daily, between 1,000 to 200 people. Over time, because we were migrating from the old passports to the new passports, the numbers kept growing. The numbers kept growing. We moved to about 1,400. We staggered there. Then during COVID, that lockdown of 2020, I remember we went into lockdown, but our system was still open. So, meaning people would apply for passports, and the numbers kept accumulating. By the time we reopened the passport office after lockdown, we had almost 10,000 applicants in the system. The number was really huge, and as soon as we opened like this, huge numbers swarmed our office. Everybody wanted a passport. First of all, people had not traveled for businesses. People had not traveled for treatment, for studies, for leisure. So everybody had the thirst to travel out of the country. So we were swarmed with very big numbers. I remember that is the time we were in the news for hosting very huge lines from MTN down to the city abattoir. In fact, that whole road was always full of people. Well, at that time we were serving about 1,000, between 1,800 to 2,000 people. But remember, when we started the system, we had anticipated that maybe would be serving around 1,000 to 1,200 on the maximum. But here we were, the numbers kept growing. So we struggled. I remember I came here, people bombarded me with questions, which I answered, of course, heavily. Until now, we finished that number and we went back to normal. Right now, we have very normal numbers. We're actually serving about 1,200 people. That's why
That's
you don't
per
see
day?
per day. You don't see
1,200 people are looking for passports.
Yes,
applying
day.
for passports
Exactly.
every day.
Every day.
And they want to move out.
They want to move out of the country. Of course, there are opportunities out there. People want to go and get jobs. People want to go for treatment. Ugandans have become better now. They want to go abroad for treatment, for leisure, and stuff like that. And for businesses. Most of these business people now have started importing their things directly from outside countries.
Not forgetting the many girls that go in through these labor companies.
Those ones, of course, the number reduced with the challenges of Dubai and the Saudi, the complications of the agreement between the contract not being signed. So the numbers quite reduced to, considerably. Now, this system, of course, as I said, it was serving very few people. Now the numbers have. So there's need for us to upgrade the system so that it can serve the big numbers. We're also anticipating that when that contract of Saudi is signed, we are going to have huge numbers again coming. So we want to prepare for those numbers. So how we have to upgrade our system, maintain it for better services. We want to issue passports even much faster and better. The quality of passports, of course, keeps on improving day after day. And also, of course, technology keeps improving and changing. Technology cannot be static. Then something comes. So something pops, we have to also keep adding onto our system. Even your mobile phone, you have WhatsApp. You are there, then they say keep update the software. So our system is also modern. It is a robust system which needs to be periodically maintained and upgraded. That's simply what we are doing. We are not changing anything. The passport application process remains the same. The passport remains the same. Everything else will remain the same. Only that now the system will be much better than it was before.
Better as in which ways? More faster?
More faster, more robust, and better in terms of serving more people. Because we, as I told you, we are serving about 1,000 people. Now we are anticipating about between 2,000 to 3,000 people a day. So it will be better. You will not hear of system has broken down and stuff like that. Banks also do this. They keep upgrading their systems. I remember my bank, I think 2 weeks ago, they said, now we are upgrading the system. We are not available on such and such a day. And there's nothing much about that.
Well, no one is refuting the necessity of upgrading, because this is common with technology. But the question is how it is being done. You mentioned of banks. One would wonder, for such a thing of its great magnitude and value to the people, for example, if I was supposed to get an express passport and maybe fly a sick person, that may not be possible today and tomorrow. That has an attachment to life. And many others. If I had a job interview and I knew I could do this, so all those. But why choose working days? Because, for example, many banks will communicate, and their communication is forewarned. Umeme, National Water may communicate and say, on such and such a date, we shall have system upgrade or maintenance. So they prepare the people ahead of time. And usually, I look at telecommunication companies, when they communicate, they do this work overnight. It would be like after office that, yes, we are carrying out this upgrade from 6, because now you know, not many people are going to come. And throughout the night, then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, everything is back and normal. You never warned people to prepare ahead of time, so that they know you in case you may have an emergency. Now you have an entire week to ensure you get your passport. Was this accidental? And then why was it done over the weekend?
Thank you, Robert. Passport office handles a very huge population, and of course the services hinge on a lot of other things. The population, when you look at, you have talked about banks and other institutions, the numbers they serve are not as many as ours, because for us, everybody born, even if it is one day qualifies for a passport, could come there to ask for a passport. So even if I had come here and given a 1 year notice of closure that we shall close maybe 2024, of course there would still be some complaint here and there. But also...
but the serious people would. Yes, would not fall prey to that.
The system that we are talking about is not a simple one. It is something that will take time. Why we chose today, Thursday, then Friday, we wanted to utilize the weekend. But weekend alone, that is Saturday and Sunday, wouldn't be enough for our technicians to carry out this meaningful maintenance service. So we wanted to add these two. We never wanted to disrupt next week because, you know, it will be beginning of week and stuff like that. Having said that, passport office is people-centric. Of course, we care for people. We, for sure, know that there are people who have emergencies, and we are not aloof to that. So I call upon Ugandans who have emergencies, meaningful emergencies. Of course, now everybody will say, no, I am supposed to go for treatment. Emergency hinging on life. People who are supposed to go for treatment and who really need to travel, that we shall be in office handling such cases. We are not saying that we cannot give a passport to somebody who needs an operation in India or something. Those cases, of course, we handle. We shall be in office, like remember yesterday when we mentioned, we said right from the minister up to down, immigration officer, we shall be in office. You approach us if you have an emergency, we shall surely handle. So we don't want to see a situation where a Ugandan is dying because we have closed the passport office for 2 days. No, never. It will never happen. We have had emergencies before. That is why when you come to passport office, you'd see a priority lane for these, for the sick, for the elderly, for people of different categories, for those who are challenged in one way or another. So we give a priority lane. Such people, especially those who are sick, we even don't ask them to make appointment. We ask them to just walk to our office, and we have been able to handle such people. So, yes, we have told the world quite late. That is why we apologized. We said we apologize for the inconveniences caused to those who, especially who had scheduled appointments on today and tomorrow. But we asked for only 2 days, and things will be much better. I am sure Ugandans will appreciate. I remember when we started these online services, every Ugandan was up in arms, complaining that these people are wasting our time. How will Ugandans go online? People, the Ugandans don't have computers, Ugandans don't have internet. But as I told you the other time I was here, everybody now is applying for a passport, and online. There's nobody who will come here and say, I cannot apply for a passport. They actually realize that services are much better online than it was before. where you had to first of all come to the ministry, queue up to pick forms. After picking the forms, you start running to LC. Go to LC1, they sign for you. Go to LC2, go to LC3, RDC, DSO, then you queue and come back and hand in the forms. Then you queue to pick the bank advice slips for you to go to pay in the bank. Then you go to the bank and queue up and pay in the bank. Then come, queue up to hand in these forms. It would take, on average, about 2 months, 2 to 3 months for a Ugandan to get a passport. Gone are those days. We have simplified things now. For those on emergency, actually, even one day we issue a passport for.
Well, our viewers will have to testify to that, but we are still enjoying Good Morning Uganda agenda, and the number that is going to be popping up on your screen is 0709 60 25 92. 0709 60 25 92. That is the number through which you can send us a text message or a WhatsApp message on the topic of discussion, which is the passport system upgrade and maintenance, which is happening today and tomorrow, meaning there isn't, unless an emergency, service related to passports that can now be availed or that you can utilize because they are upgrading the system. Now, Simon, you've talked about this is going to be robust, this is going to be faster, but let's look at the security of our passport as Ugandans. We've had incidents where non-Ugandans are found with our passports. We've even had incidents where a person has 2 passports. You know, he has a passport and you're like, but how does this happen? How did it happen? You have 2 passports, they're all from the same body. So how is this, if there is it going to help in terms of authenticity of our passport, in terms of eliminating such issues that most of these international communities, why they become strict on us, these countries, is because they tend to doubt the quality and the safety of our passport. Yet we were assured that now we've gone digital and have this e-passport, electronic passport, all this is going to become history, which hasn't been so.
Thank you, Robert. I think the issue of non-Ugandans carrying our passports ended with the old machine-readable passports. I do not think there is any non-Ugandan carrying our electronic passport right now. Actually, that was one of the reasons why we went E. Because, as you may know and testify, you have been to passport office to apply for your passport of recent, and you know the process. There's a laborious procedure for acquiring a passport. Actually, this also explains why sometimes people complain that express passports are delaying and stuff like that. Of course, they delay for one reason, that we have to carry out serious verification for you to be able to acquire a passport. Because people thought that by paying for express passport, you simply walk there and then no interview, then they give you a red carpet, then you acquire a passport. No, ours is not like that. You have to undergo scrutiny on citizenship verification. So we are able to verify that we are Ugandan. So ever since we started issuing electronic passport, I can authoritatively tell you that we don't have any non-Ugandan carrying a Ugandan passport. We don't have that. Going forward, we are going to introduce, I think in next month, what we refer to as AFIS. AFIS is AFIS. Automatic Finger Integrated System, whereby if you come to do a renewal, for instance, of a passport, you will not be asked so many questions. All you have to do is you have to put a finger, you have to scan your finger, and then your details will pop up on the screen. Just by touching the screen, and then everything will be dug out and be displayed on the screen. That's where we are heading. That system actually is part of what we are doing now, and such systems and procedures, laborious as they are, but they are going to make our passport secure and then even more acceptable worldwide. As I told you earlier on when I was here the other time, the electronic passport cannot now be issued to anybody who has not come to passport office to do a fingerprint. Unless you are telling me that somebody will change the, the structure of their palms and the fingers, no way. We are even now going to make it even much better by integrating what we refer to as iris recognition system, where you'll have to just look into our camera like this, and the system will pick your identity using the eyes. So you will tamper with your finger patterns, but you will not tamper with your eyes. So that's how serious we are heading. And I can assure you that ever since we started in 2018 December to issue this passport, we have never encountered a non-Ugandan carrying our passport. Never. And I will assure you that it is not going to be possible. We have arrested so many who attempted to apply for such passports. I think as I talk, there are some people at Ginger Road Police Station who attempted to apply for our passport. We had a one Nigerian calling himself Okero. So when he attempted, we nabbed him. And many others. We have tried to ensure that the system does very, very serious verification of especially citizenship to be able to give a passport. That's why sometimes we delay with the express passport, especially if we are not sure about your citizenship.
Well, so much work being done there, but let's also now look at the people that have been affected. Then I'll come to the questions of our viewers. Please keep the questions coming in, and thank you for being part of the show and sending us that feedback. Thank you so much. That is the number on your screen, 0709 60 25 92. You can send an SMS message or a WhatsApp message, and I'm going to be reading them out. And of course, my guest in studios, who happens to be the spokesperson of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, will be responding to all your questions. Now, how are these people, how are you getting back? What is your plan to resume after this? We have those that were applying. We have those that were supposed to pick, those that were supposed to come for interviews. And this is not only for Uganda, but even in other countries where we do have offices that carry out on this. What's going to be the plan like?
Yeah, before we actually announced these days off, today and tomorrow, we had to sit. And then, first of all, we clearly knew that there are people who had applied, especially on 19th, those with appointments of 20th, and we had to lay out a plan for them, to handle them. We mentioned that those who have appointments of 19th of January 2023, that is for today, we shall handle them on Monday, next week. That is 23rd Jan 2023, alongside those who will have scheduled for that day. We have called our staff who normally work in shifts. We are, for those 2 days, next week, Monday, Tuesday, we are going to call everybody to be, all staff to be present, to be able to handle these big numbers. We are not going to be operating in shift like we had planned before. So we are going to call out all our staff. Our team will be on ground to be able to handle all these numbers. Because for sure we know that we shall have big numbers. We shall have those slated for that day, but also we shall have now this spillover from this week to the other week. So we have our team ready for this. They are already aware and they have prepared themselves physically and emotionally to be able to handle these numbers. Those who have appointments of tomorrow Friday will be served next week on Tuesday. We have also been able to send them messages on top of this communication to let them know. There are people for sure who don't watch TV and others who are not on Twitter and these other social media platforms. So we also, on top of this, sending them personal SMSs to alert them of what, of when they should appear for their fingerprints to be captured.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let me move and look at some of the questions. First, I want to thank everybody who has participated by sending your views. And I'll start with good morning. Let me hope that they are upgrading to the best. Thanks. This is Okelo from Rubaga. You're upgrading for the best. Then good morning. I have... Good morning, sir. I'm Nelson from Palisa Deep in the village. How can I also get the passport? Because I have hopes to fly. What are the requirements to follow? Thanks. Hope you jot them down. Now we have, hello, good morning, Uganda, my country. I have an old passport, the green one. How can I get the current one? Thank you. Let me still have another. Thanks for the show. I'm Aloysius Baguma from Kabera Maido. What is the difference between the national ID and a passport? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Robert. And those viewers who are sending in questions, we want to thank you, first of all, for tuning in.
There are quite many, so you must be first.
Yeah. Because you see, I get perturbed sometimes. There are many Ugandans who don't watch such programs. Then when time comes for them to apply for passport, they don't know what to do. So I want to applaud those people who are watching UBC right now. The procedure, the system is going to be robust. I have already mentioned that. It's going to be for the better, definitely. Shouldn't worry. That was okay. Then somebody asked about the procedure of acquiring a passport because he has hopes of flying out of the country. Congratulations on having hopes. The procedure is simple. Just go onto our portal, www.passports.go.ug. Once you reach there, you'll find a form, very easy to fill. Put in your details. After you put your details, system will give you a number known as payment reference number, PRN, on which to pay. You can pay using mobile money. You can go to the bank. You can choose to use any payment gateways, either Easyway or anything, or using any type of payment system that you are used to. Then once you do that, secure an appointment on the system, and then you'll be able to be given a day and time to appear at our office to be able to be captured. And then once you do that, then you wait at home, and once the passport is ready, we shall send you a notification informing you of your passport pickup, and you'll be able to come and pick your passport. Very easy.
Now, one who said he has the old passport, how do they get the new passport?
Yeah, renewal, same procedure.
Okay.
Because this is going to be a renewal. Go to the system, apply, pay, make an appointment, come with the old passport and national ID. We shall be able to give you a new passport.
So the old passport, you must come with it and hand it over, then get.
We actually don't take we don't retain the old passport, but we get some details from it, and then we deactivate that passport, and then after we punch it and return it to you.
Okay.
And we don't keep it.
Now let's go for this one. Okay, this one was asking why you chose the weekend. I think what is that? Mwasuze mutya nina passport ya bulu mbadde njagala kukyusa kudda kumpya nkoze ntya era bimalawo ssente meka. I think the only difference now here is this one, to know how much is an ordinary passport. Because we're also fleeced in that direction.
Passport ya omuliza wa phenomenal wa omulungi. Passport ya mtwalo 25 ya ordinary and kansubire nti oli ordinary Ugandani toli minister oba toli ambassador n'olwekyo osasula eno passport ya mtwalo 25 genda mu banka osasule towa muntu togezaako okuwa omuntu yena sente nti agenda akusasulire kubanga abaferebo bayitirivu twagezaako okubagoba mu ministry naye bali eyo ku Room Street bali eyo ku Nyonyintono Road bwe bategera abantu okubaba sente gezaako kulaba nti weesasulira sente bwenga omuntu asaba passport balimo okubba.
Going ahead, this is thanks for the program. I'm Cephas from Nansana. About passport upgrade, it's a great idea because it makes the process simpler and speedy. Thanks for that. Okay. Thanks for everything you're serving us as UBC and the visitor. I'm inquiring about this thing of zip code during various document application related to travels and also postal address. What is a zip code? Then should I think everyone has a postal address? I'm Anthony Rukuri, inquiring from Kanungu.
Oh, thank you, Robert. In Uganda, zip codes normally apply in those countries like US, where people are registered on address for purposes of address locations. For us here, we don't actually ask for any zip code because we don't have them here. So for those who don't have postal address, we don't force you to put postal address. Once you have a national ID, that is the biggest qualification for one to get a passport, national ID. And then you put your details about yourself, your parents, and where you come from. Simple. So we ask for your clan, maybe. We ask for your father, where you come from, which district, but we never ask for zip codes because it doesn't apply in our setting here.
Okay, good morning, UBC. I'm happy to hear from the officer from the passport office. My problem is that I lost my passport, the old type. So how do I get a new one? I'm Jack from Bundi Bujo.
Lost a passport? Very easy. First go to police and report. Why? It is important for you to report loss of a passport because some scrupulous person will pick that passport and use it to go somewhere and drop it there, and then you'll be in trouble. So what you do, first of all, go to police, report, and get a police report, and then you follow the same process of applying for a passport. Only that the cost of a passport will a bit go higher by 100,000 as fine. Instead of paying 250, the system will ask for 350. 100,000 will be fine for losing a government document. Yeah.
Well, but mine just had damages, and when I came, I still had to pay that.
Why do you damage a document important as a passport? You don't have to damage a passport. You have to take very good care of a passport. Once you come there and the page is defaced, maybe the biodata page is not clear, you have poured water, we shall fine you. Because this is a very important national document, for which you have to keep maybe near your academic documents. I don't see people destroying their academic documents quite often. But you see somebody with a passport. I used to work at the airport, and one time I saw a gentleman coming at the immigration desk, and he was very sure that his passport was okay. When he handed in a passport, the kid had written on the biodata page and drawn pictures and rubbed the eyes and so he had to go back. That inconvenience, you know. So, but before you travel, look at your document days before. If it is okay, you are well. Then I call upon Ugandans, of course, who have not changed the passports. Those with the old passports, they are no longer applicable. They don't allow them. We only allow new passports. Please endeavor to apply for a new passport. System is easy, is much friendly, and then it is faster. We are talking about now 9 days of getting a passport.
9 days of getting a passport.
Ordinary passport.
Ordinary passport. The viewers are getting that very well. Good morning, UBC. Thanks for the program. My name is Joel Wenu. Kindly ask the spokesperson if the passport expires 2 years back. Do I still qualify for renewal or a fresh application process with totally new credentials? Thank you.
For as long as you own the passport before, 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, you are applying for a renewal. We still have you in our passport system. It means that you are coming to get a new passport. So that qualifies as a renewal. For as long as...
Because you're already in the system.
You're already in the system. You
own a passport.
Yes, yes. Even if it is 20, 30 years ago, you come to renew a passport.
Okay. Well, there are a number of questions here, but I think I'll just go through one final one. A number of, okay, one says he was talking about people who have passports, yet they are not Ugandans. Then someone says, thanks for the passport issue. Things are not going well. This is another agency, but he's saying with NIRA, yet a national ID is a requirement. So he's saying if there is a way that this inter-government can work better.
Yeah, NIRA is actually under the Ministry of Internal Affairs. NIRA is improving things. We are going in for mass registration, and I think things are, each day that passes, NIRA becomes much better. And as I talk, they are working so hard to improve affairs there.
Okay.
So there's no big problem at NIRA, really.
Let me just have your parting shots.
Thank you very much. I call upon Ugandans out there who are planning to apply for passports to do so well in time, and then avoid these last-minute rushes. You know, last-minute rushes have led to people being conned. Somebody wants a passport tomorrow, is coming in today, has not applied, has not paid, wants a very quick passport. So what does that person do? He will call somebody on Nyonyintono Road. Because they have, some of them have even advertised themselves. We keep arresting them, but they pop up in other areas. We don't have control over those buffet out there. So please apply for a passport well in time, and then follow the due process. And when it comes to payment, please do it by yourself. Do not give money to anybody, because the system of payment has been simplified. You will have to pay either using mobile money. You can actually apply for a passport in your house, pay for it in your house, and only leave your house to come to your office for fingerprints only. Nobody is supposed to ask you. There should be no third party in the passport application process. It doesn't actually arise because the system is very friendly. It only asks for details about you, which you know. Simple. Well, so Ugandans, please take note of this. Apply for a passport in time, to avoid being conned by the ferry out there. Thank you very much.
Well, Simon, thank you for your time. I've been with the spokesperson of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and we have been looking at the passport system upgrade and maintenance that is going on today and Friday. See you in the next hour. Sports is up next.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Would send them up into second for now. What a platform that would be for the rest of the campaign.
Certainly would. We know this is a difficult place to come. We've never had it easy here.
Wan-Bissaka gets to the byline.